Good afternoon, student. For today's session, second session, we will start it shortly in a minute. Please wait.
Hi, Kunal.
Hello, sir. Yes, sir. We can start the session.
All right, Kunal. Yeah. So we'll have the same plan, Kunal. The last maybe say 10-15 minutes we will devote to the questions.
Question answers. Correct.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we haven't left any question unanswered, Kunal.
No, sir.
Okay, fine. So I think we have answered all the questions which were actually raised before our lunch. So once again, please, without any hesitation, you can ask me the same question again and again, no problems. Okay, and I will answer to the best of the expectations. All right. Okay. So I only hope that till now, whatever we have looked into, they are being clear. Okay. Now, another interesting thing about SAP. So probably we have had a brief insight into what is SAP, what is module, what is consultant, who's an end user, what is the architecture, and so many things about SAP. But what are the challenges whenever you're talking about implementing SAP in an organization? What do you think the challenges could be? It's a lot of challenge and lots of pressure, especially for a consultant. It's a lots and lots of pressure which he has to face while implementing a project. Now, I have always been stressing on the word implementing or implementation consultant. Correct? Now, what are the different kinds of SAP projects? This is another, this you may not find it in your course content, but I was just thinking and I thought probably this could be a very interesting topic since we are still dealing with the regular or with a normal understanding of the SAP system or a generic understanding of the SAP system. I just thought probably this could be a very interesting discussion. Don't worry, I'll be carrying out this discussion, maybe say at the end of the session also, maybe say maybe after 2.5 weeks from now. What are the different kinds of SAP projects which you may come across in your SAP career? And more so if you want to make SAP as your career, this is very inevitable that you come across these particular terms. All right. Implementation projects. These are the nature of SAP project, different kinds of SAP projects which exist. One is the implementation of the SAP projects. What do I mean by implementation projects? Meaning a company which was working on earlier system, that is non-SAP system. Let me just define this implementation. Or moving from non-SAP to SAP. What do I mean by this statement? I mean, oh, moving from the non-SAP system to the SAP system is the fresh implementation. It's called as implementation projects because the company was not even aware of SAP. Clear? Now, probably it could be using some other software. And let me not name what could be the other software. Fine. But generally, it is from non-SAP to SAP. All right. Now, what happens here in this kind of projects? There is a life cycle. Life cycle of SAP projects. This life cycle or the steps what I'm going to discuss is applicable to any one of this or more so to the implementation. All right. It is referred to as ASAP methodology. OK, accelerated SAP. A stands for it is simply called as a ASAP methodology. What are the steps? Now, the first and the foremost step is if you read some of the other literature about the implementation or the life cycle of a project, you could come across different English. OK, requirement gathering. The first and the foremost step is your requirement gathering. What necessarily happens in this step? Now, let me take, for example, IBM. So IBM is the implementing company. I'm just taking an example. OK, X Limited is the company which has which has to implement SAP, and it is taking the help of IBM. So IBM in this case is the implementing company or the consulting company. OK. Now, so what has happened here? The consulting company which employs consultants, the IBM company employs the consultants. X Limited has its employees as the users of the SAP system. I think now the differentiation is getting more and more clearer. Right. Now, what does happen in this particular requirement gathering? The consulting company has a detailed discussion with the client. Here the client is X Limited. Okay. So it has to understand why a detailed discussion. Now, IBM has to understand the SAP implementing company needs to understand the business of X Limited. If I have to implement SAP, I need to understand what X Limited is into. What is the business? How is it carrying out its business processes? Are there definite steps? What was the earlier system which was being used by X Limited? Okay, so all this now, the discussion also includes the financial position of X Limited also, because it has to know if it can afford SAP and if the financial spending on SAP really makes any business sense. Now, if X Limited does not find any requirement for SAP, absolutely no harm. X Limited can simply say no, because SAP is not suitable and I'm not convinced to implement SAP in my company, so I don't want SAP. Yes, most valid. So now, so both the parties, who are the parties? The consulting company and the client, they have a deep discussion at a top level discussion, which involves all kinds of feasibility studies also, meaning whether the business of X Limited really requires SAP, or if X Limited is already comfortable with the earlier software. Fair enough. Yes, X Limited can completely reject. There is no harm in that. All right. So this discussion may not. It is a for a longer duration. All right. There is no specific time, or it will end in 1 day, 2 days. No. Because both the parties, they need to understand. Okay. And more so from X Limited perspective, it has to actually decide upon whether they really want SAP or not. And IBM, or as a consulting company, should also tell them what SAP can offer. What is it that after SAP gets implemented in X Limited, what can it expect? What better from the earlier system can X Limited expect? Because the earlier system was delivering some things, how better can SAP do these things? So the consulting company should convince X Limited on the solutions, on the superior solutions provided by SAP. Clear? So it involves all. The project discussion is in very in depth. Okay. Now, what is the second step? What is this BBP? Business blueprint. What is this business blueprint? Whatever the discussion has happened here will be constructed into a manual. This business blueprint is also alternatively referred to as the Bible of the project. And it is very confidential. All right. So none of these two components, that is the implementing company as well as the consulting company, they will not be publishing this business blueprint because it is very, very confidential. And even we as consultants, we are not supposed to share this business blueprint with any of the known people. And it is well protected in the organization also. Now, what happens in this? This is as I said, Bible of the project. All the discussions, all the points which are being discussed in the first step, they are well documented in black and white. Clear? And to make things more and more clearer, each page of this particular document of this BBP will be signed by both the parties, both your consulting company and your client. Both the responsible people of both the organizations will be signing on each and every page of this document. Why each and every page of this document? Because tomorrow, the client should not come back to the consulting company saying that this is not being done to my requirement. So this is to ensure from both the parties that the requirement is very well understood and also how the solution should be implemented. The steps are also very, 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 very clear to both the parties. I hope I'm clear. So this is your business blueprint phase of the implementing project. Clear? Now, what happens here? Realization phase. What happens in the realization phase? Now, all the requirements are well understood in this business blueprint phase. Now, the consulting company goes about framing solutions in the SAP system for the business problems of X Limited. So what IBM does here is it designs the SAP system based on the requirement of X Limited. That happens in the realization phase. Yeah. So what happens here? Now, it decides on the number of modules which needs to be implemented. So it is not that all the modules which you saw, FI, CO, MM, SD, PP, PM, PS, all that you saw, right? It may not, all the modules may not be required at all. Why? If I'm not into manufacturing, why would I require the production planning module? Correct? So it is strictly based on the business requirement of X Limited. So your realization. So here itself, what are the modules that need to be implemented? All right. Now, what should be the structure of the SAP geography? I will come back to this SAP geography a little later. And what should be the construction or what should be the size of the teams? Suppose I have FICO, MM and SD modules to be implemented for X Limited. OK, now What should be the constitution of each and every team? Should FI module have 4 consultants or 2 consultants? Should the SD team have 2 people or 3 people or 2 consultants, 3 consultants? So like this, here, all these kinds of requirements are being satisfied here. So the size of the teams, the modules which need to be implemented, all these things are discussed. And here there is a strict time schedule drawn for each and every activity. For each and every consultant, there has to be a definite timeline which will be allotted so that the delivery becomes easy. So within that particular time, let me say that the whole project takes around 8 to 10 months. So end of the first month, end of the second month, end of the third month, end of the fourth month. What is the delivery that needs to happen from each and every individual involved in the project so that your timeline is met? At the end of the 10th month or at the end of the 8th month, the whole project, the whole product as such is handed over to X Limited in a perfect working condition. Understood? So whatever SAP product you are delivering, it should be perfectly working according to the needs of X Limited. Or else why will X invest on SAP? Makes no sense, right? Okay, now final preparation. This step is very, very typical to the implementation projects. This requirement gathering phase can also be alternative called as preparation, initial preparation phase. Initial preparation phase or your requirement gathering phase, whatever. That's what I said. See, whenever you come across different literature about the ASAP methodology, you may come across different literature using different terms, but it drives home only one point. What happens during that particular phase? That is all, nothing much. Now, in the final preparation, please do not worry about certain terms because I'm going to repeat this life cycle. Just a moment. I don't see so many attendees, but do not worry. The next time I will also repeat the same thing as to how this is going to take place. I'm going to definitely handle this once more. That should not be a problem. OK. But if some of the terms are still unclear, do not worry about it, because this is away from the topic which I'm discussing is just to give you some insight into how really the live SAP thing works. And actually, in my regular practice, I used to do this in the mid of the time schedule, maybe say after the second week or something. But I just thought probably if I start discussing about this particular topic, it would give you more insight into what SAP looks like. That was the whole idea. That is nothing beyond that. OK. And don't worry, as I said, I'm going to handle this topic once again. Not a problem. OK. Now in the final preparation, so here what happens? All the requirements of X Limited are converted into the SAP solutions. So this has to happen only as per the requirement of X Limited. I'm just giving you an example of X Limited. That's okay. Whatever X asks for, you will have to provide a solution. Or it is not only that you agree everything what X tells you, because X Limited also expects certain advices from your end also, because X Limited is thinking of you to be the experts in SAP system and it wants you to give them the best possible solutions. So that is as far as the expectations of X Limited is concerned. Clear? So you are also working, you as a consultant, you are also working as an advisory. You're also carrying out an advisory role to X Limited. Let us assume that X Limited was carrying out a certain activity in some way, but you can provide a better solution in SAP for the same activity in SAP. X Limited would be more than happy to accept it. All right. Now, so it will decide as to the content of each and every team, the realization phase, the project team, the strength of the project team is discussed. You'll be having a project manager, you'll be having a team lead, you'll be having all the module consultants. Whichever modules is decided upon, okay, is being implemented, and the size of each and every team is discussed here. So a project team is constructed, which will carry out the solutions of X Limited into SAP. So that is what the realization phase does. What is the final preparation phase? What is the responsibility of the final preparation? What happens there? Now, the major challenge here is converting the non-SAP data into SAP data. Did you understand? X Limited was using an earlier non-SAP system. Clear? Now SAP has started, X Limited will try to use SAP starting from some date in the future. Let me say you are supposed to deliver the project by 31st of August. You are supposed to deliver the SAP solutions to X Limited by 31st of August 2024. Okay, by 1st of September, X Limited should start using the SAP system by slowly discontinuing the earlier system, non-SAP system. So till this date, 31st of August 2024, X Limited would be having some data which was already existing. Now, how will it move the data to SAP? Did you understand the scenario? So till 31st of August, okay, you will have to move the non-SAP data to the SAP form for X Limited. This particular activity for movement of the data is called as a cutover activities. What is the meaning of cutover? Cutting over from the non-SAP system to the SAP system. So you are slowly discontinuing the non-SAP system and moving on to the SAP system from 1st of September 2024. So I will use another technical term. So the non-SAP data in the SAP language is called as the legacy data or the legacy system. The non-SAP system which was earlier used by X Limited is referred to as the legacy system. Clear? So this is a typical term which you will come across during your conversation with another SAP professional. So you will have to move all the legacy data. I hope you're comfortable with the usage of the term legacy. Legacy is what? The earlier non-SAP system. That's all. Nothing more. Yeah. So movement, and it is not as easy as it looks like. It is not the
Sir,
yes, Kunal.
one of the student is asking, sir, can we paste non-SAP data to be converted to the SAP data?
Can
we convert non-SAP data to a SAP data?
absolutely, absolutely. You will have to do it because whenever you start using the SAP system or the earlier data which was in the non-SAP system should be converted into the SAP understandable form. So conversion is very much possible. If the question is the conversion possible? The answer is yes. If your question is a little further as to how it can be converted, that is a different, deeper discussion. But
Yes,
for
sir.
now, if at all, this is exactly what happens in this phase of the project. The question what you asked is a typical activity which happens in this particular phase. You will have to move all the non-SAP data to SAP, which happens in your final preparation phase, which will be done by each of the respective consultants. So what do I mean by that? The finance module people will be responsible for movement of the finance data. The vendor, the material management module people or the purchase module people, they'll be responsible for their respective data, the vendor might with the vendor data, whatever. And the sales and distribution module people, they will be responsible for movement of the sales information. The HR module people, they'll be responsible for movement of their respective data. Clear? So each one of the module person will be allotted a definite responsibility which should be carried out within a specific time limit. Because especially in this phase, which I've highlighted, everything is time bound. You will have to deliver within the allotted time. Here again, let me go a little further because one of the students has asked a question. What is the different kind of data which can move? You're okay with this? There are two kinds of data. One is your master data. Another one is a transactional data. What is the difference between these two? Master data is permanent in nature. Transactional data gets updated each and every time a transaction gets saved in the SAP system. Let me explain this with an example. Now you have the purchase model. You have the purchasing activity taking place. You are buying the items from a specific vendor. So when you have fixed up a vendor for your purchase, you create his data as a permanent information. Vendor master data, customer master data, employee master data, bank master data. So these are a few examples of the master data. Why is this master? Because each one, as you can see, the vendor master data, the customer information, the employee information, the bank information does not undergo a change on a day-to-day basis. Do you carry out a change in your employee master data? Does the employee's name change every day? Does the employee address change every day? Does the employee number change every day? No. So the master data, a few examples of master data is the ones which I have mentioned here. So they are quite permanent in nature. How do you see this master data in SAP? That comes at a later stage. I will show you the bank master data. I will show you the vendor master data. I will show you the customer master data. I will show you each and everything. Now, what examples of a temporary or the transactional data? What could be the examples? Invoices. It could be your sales invoice, your purchase invoice. You agree with me? Your payment, the payment information, your receipts information. All this could be your transactional data. Entering invoices, receiving, making payments, receiving money, paying salaries. All these transactions, they form the examples of your transactional data. So just imagine the challenge for a consultant. All these things were existing in the legacy system. Even before we talk about the SAP system, we are still in the non-SAP system. So, and you have these two kinds of data. So don't you think that these things should also move to the SAP side? So it is a huge job, very, very critical. Okay, and it is time bound. You will have to ensure that all this data moves from the non-SAP system to the SAP system. And this activity is called as the cutover activities, cutting over from legacy to SAP. Yeah. Go live. What is this go live? So all you are supposed to deliver the SAP system to X Limited on 31st of August. From 1st of September, X Limited is expected to start working on the SAP system. Start working in the sense all the employees must try to work on the SAP system, carrying out their regular operations. Meaning, if a person was responsible to enter the vendor invoices in the non-SAP system, he's supposed to do the same thing in the SAP system. If an individual was responsible for making a payment in the non-SAP system, he has to do the same thing in the SAP system. But how can you expect? So here, who is working on the SAP system? It is not the consultant. The consultant has already delivered the SAP system. From 1st of September, who's supposed to use the SAP system? The employees of X Limited. So how do you expect that the employees of X Limited can immediately start working on the SAP system? Now, in this particular phase, there is also a lot of end user training. The consultant who is implementing the SAP system for X Limited will also be given the added responsibility of training the end users. Who's the end user? The employees of X Limited.
Hello.
Yes, madam.
Hello.
Yes, madam.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon,
Actually, আমি একটা জিনিস একটু জানার জন্য ফোন করেছিলাম স্যার। আজকে আমাদের একটা মেল এসেছে রিগার্ডিং দ্য পেমেন্ট ফর দ্য সামার ক্যাম্প। হ্যাঁ, এবার আমি যে মেলটা পেয়েছি সেটার মধ্যে রয়েছে যে মানে আমার ছেলের নাম দিয়ে যেটা রয়েছে হচ্ছে সামার ক্যাম্প ব্যাচ 2। এবার ব্যাচ 2টা মোস্ট প্রবাবলি মনে হয় 27th to 31st অব্দি হয়েছে, 27 to 31st। তো স্যার আমরা না 25th থেকে ট্রাভেল করছি। আমি একটা মেলও করেছি, যে মেল আইডিটা থেকে এসেছিল আমি টিকিটটা অ্যাটাচ করেছি। তো ওইটা কি কোনোভাবে ফার্স্ট ব্যাচে যে কোনো টাইমিং এ দেওয়া সম্ভব? মানে 20
Sir, you can unmute and continue with the class, sir. Nagraj sir? Nagraj sir?
Yeah, I have
You
unmuted.
can, yeah. You can continue.
Okay, done. So we stopped at. So how do you expect the employees of X Limited to immediately start working on SAP? There has to be some kind of a training plan to be introduced into this particular project plan. Correct? So where individual department users will be trained on SAP by the relevant consultants. Got my point? Now, so this is a lot of documents are being generated.
ये लगता है क्या गौन कैसे लगता है? ये पागल है ये यार, औरत तो एकदम। म्यूट करके रखा हुआ है।
Now, There are a lot of training manuals, training documents. All right. They are being prepared, test documents. Which are prepared by the consultants during this particular phase. So here the consultants are also responsible for training the users, training the employees of X Limited also. Just give me a minute. So now I hope you are able to understand the complexity of how SAP gets implemented in a company. Clear? So we consultants, we also spend time in preparing these two manuals, test manuals and training manuals. And we also train the end users so that they are ready to use the system on the go live date. This date is already fixed by the top level management. And from this date onwards, X Limited should start working on the SAP system. Clear? So this is how the project life cycle happens in SAP. Of course, there are a lot of other things which also happen here, especially continuing on this. I hope probably things are clear. Students, just take 2 minutes. Please think about all these steps. OK. Place your questions in the Q&A section. We'll take it up at a later point in time. You found this discussion to be interesting? I just thought probably this could give you more and more interest in the subject. All right. Just think about whatever has happened till now and come back to me with questions. I'll give you 2 minutes. I will join you in another 1 minute. Okay, I will continue. So what really happens on the go live date? So in my example, we have decided that on the 1st of September 2024, we are going to go live. What does this mean? X Limited will start X Limited will start to work on the new installed SAP system. Clear? So here all the training to the employees of X Limited would have happened in the space. So there should not be any issue on going live. So what really happens in this particular celebration? Go live is a very important activity wherein all the heads of both the companies here, SAP, I mean the IBM as well as X Limited, they are present in the occasion and they will test the transaction to see whether the SAP system is working successfully or not. Okay, they will simply try to carry out a transaction. It could be anything. A simple general voucher should be entered into the SAP system. All right. So this will be tested and will be ensured that the SAP system is doing its job correctly. So everything what IBM has done is correct. Whatever the consulting company has done is meeting the requirements of X Limited. So this is what your go live activity takes place. So here to complete all these steps, based on the complexity of the project, it may take a few months up to a few years. Yes, you heard it clearly. A project may also take more than a year to be completed. Such will be the complexity of the requirement of the business. Clear? So accurately designing the SAP system is a very, very complex job. Okay, you will have to understand, and it involves a lot of expertise and a lot of experience, okay, to implement the SAP projects. Now, on the 1st of September 2024, X Limited has started using the SAP system. Very good. Okay. So the SAP system has been implemented successfully. Okay. Now, after the first, let me assume a scenario where an employee of X Limited, he gets a error. He has an issue. User faces an issue in carrying out a particular transaction. So, and did you understand the scenario? An employee in X Limited is facing an issue in entering a particular transaction. It could be it could be an invoice, it could be a receipt, whatever. It could be a simple journal voucher, whatever. And how is the issue resolved? So now here there comes another new concept called as the support. The support function. So here the understanding is the company which has implemented SAP for X Limited, and in my case, I have taken IBM as an example. All right. It has its own support team to address these issues. Logical, no? So you cannot simply, the consulting company cannot say that I have finished my work and you take care of SAP. It cannot happen that way. Because here, X Limited, there will be no person who will be knowing SAP so that he can rectify the issue. Do you agree with me? Correct, no? So he has to function as a consultant and he has to be knowledgeable in SAP. Can we expect that from X Limited? Not. And in the morning, I was talking to about the authorizations or the permissions allowed for each individual in a company. Two employees of any organization will not be given the same accesses in the SAP system. The permissions granted to one user and to another user is dependent upon his or her role in the organization. When we were discussing the basis concept, I spoke about the same thing in the morning also. So here, there has to be a set of consultants forming the support team so which will be catering to the errors faced by the users of X Limited. Did you get the arrangement? Now, there are certain people in the support team. All right. Now, how will they know what the consultants would have done? They are from the same company, no doubt. They are from the same company. They are from IBM only. No doubt about it. But they are a different set of people. The team which has implemented SAP in X Limited is different from this team. So what will happen? There will be a process of something called as knowledge transfer. I'm trying to introduce the terms which are typical to the SAP projects. You would have heard about some term called as some jargons called as KT. Not typical to SAP, but in any other thing also. This is typically your knowledge transfer. What do you mean by knowledge transfer? Whatever the consulting team has done, whatever it has done in SAP, all this information will be passed on to the support team so that they have understood what has been done in SAP, and whenever there is an issue raised by a user in X Limited, can be handled without any problem. So now this gets converted into a support project. The implementation phase is over. The implementation project is over. Now the same project gets into the support role, support mode. So now you have a support team. All right. So this is the difference, or this is the life cycle of a typical project in SAP. Now, rollout and upgrade projects. What is a rollout? Rolling out. Here, in both the cases, in all the three cases, SAP is already implemented. Okay, it is not fresh. SAP is already implemented. But to keep pace with the growing requirements of the business, SAP would have gradually progressed itself. As I said yesterday, I started working on version 4.6. So do you see the progression? 4.6B of SAP 4 to 4.6C version of SAP to 5.0 version of SAP to 6.0 of SAP. So this is the constant upgradation. Okay, to constantly meet the requirements of the business. SAP is trying to, or rather SAP is constantly doing research on the particular changes and gradually upgrading itself to meet up to the requirements. Your rollout could be the way a particular thing has actually changed the way it is working. Classic example, there is a change in the taxation system. There is a change in some other system. Global, I mean, in as far as the legal requirement is concerned. Okay, now we have changed from VST to GST. So like this is a classic example of a rollout. It is not a fresh SAP implementation. SAP is already there, but you are trying to get into the newer form of the taxation system, or whatever changes have taken place as far as the legal requirements or any other corporate requirements of the business is concerned. Clear? The support, yes, we have already discussed. What is a support project? The support team is an offshoot in most cases. It could be a totally different team also. It need not be from IBM only. Just because IBM has implemented for X Limited, it cannot mean that IBM should also be a part of the support team. It may be or may not. So, but the bottom line is the support team will be given enough knowledge as to whatever has been implemented in SAP, and so that the support team can carry out its role smoothly in answering the queries of the users. Now, another interesting question. The user from X Limited has raised an issue today. Okay, just imagine a scenario where the user has placed an issue today. SAP is implemented. Okay. So can I keep quiet as a support consultant? Can I keep quiet forever without acknowledging his issue? So how does the user know that his issue is being looked into? How will he know? So there has to be a system where a user raises the issue and the support team comes to know about it within some specified time. So if I raise the issue today, the support team cannot come back saying that I have seen the issue only after 2 days. It doesn't work that way, right? Because there are certain issues which have to be solved on high priority. There could be issues the issues could be of high priority. The issues could be of medium priority, or they could be of low priority. How do I categorize this? Now, high priority issues are those which will stop the organization functioning itself. For example, at the end of the month, the vendor is not paid. What will happen to the business? He will stop issuing the materials. So the whole activity comes to a standstill. There will be no operations till the time the vendor gets paid and he starts supplying the goods. There will be no activity. So such issues are of high priority. They have to be solved as emergently as possible. So normally in the SAP environment, these issues should be solved anywhere between 4 to 5 hours. So a support consultant will have time to resolve the issue, whatever has been raised by the user, in 4 to 5 hours time. 4 to 5 hours is the only time given to resolve high priority issues. Medium priority issues. What could be the typical examples for this? It could be anything. let us say some process is not happening. Okay, that's still okay. So here, based on the agreement between the two parties, who are the two parties? The consulting company and the and X Limited. Based on their agreement, you will be having 2 to 3 days to resolve this issue. Medium priority issue will have or will be given 2 to 3 days time to get resolved. All right. Now, low priority, what does it mean? It is not going to affect the business in a very critical way. Let me assume that there is a some report format has to be changed. Something like that, some minor requirement like, I mean, I'm not meaning it as a minor requirement, some requirement of that kind, some report or something which is not affecting the business. Okay, here in this case, if you see, the whole business comes to a standstill. The business is not going to supply the items. So what are you going to do? If it is a manufacturing industry, if you do not have the raw materials, what would you do? So such issues, they fall under the high priority. All right. Now, the low priority tickets or the low priority issues may take they can take greater than 5 days, 5 to 7 days or 5 to 10 days, depending upon the agreement. Normally, you'll be having time more than 1 working week, 5 days, Monday to Friday we work. So you'll be given time for 1 working week to resolve this issue. Clear? Now, 4 to 5 hours, 2 to 3 days, greater than 5 days. From when is the time calculated? Interesting question, right? So from when is this 4 hours or 5 hours calculated? From the time the user raises the issue, acknowledged, the issue is acknowledged by the support team that it has received the issue and they are looking into it till the resolution. From the time the 4 to 5 hours is calculated from the time the user has raised an issue till the time it is acknowledged and till the time the whole issue is resolved. So how is the time calculated? There are some things called as support tools. Okay. They are also called as support tools, which will actually take care of all this. So from the time the user raises the issue, and believe me, from this step to the second step, raising the issue and acknowledged, there is a time limit. All right, so the user has raised an issue, say by 3 p.m. today. Within 3:15, I should inform or I should allow the system to reply back to the user saying that your issue is received, not resolved, received. I'm aware of your issue. I'm looking into it. Clear? Even this is timed in your live projects. The time the user raises the issue till the time the support team acknowledges issue, that also will be working under strict timelines. 15 minutes. The whole 4 to 5 hours is from the time the user raises the issue up to the resolution. So even when in this 4 to 5 hours, there is a 15 minutes window within which I should, as a support team member, I should acknowledge the issue. Sounds interesting. What happens if you do not? Even if there is a break in the timelines, you are penalized. The consulting company is penalized because the high priority issues charges are high because you need to resolve them in 4 to 5 hours. Clear? So you are pricing the consulting company as a certain price for each of these issues. Clear? So that is why even X Limited will be strict in implementing that. In the sense, if you do not accept within 15 minutes, I am going to penalize you. Because you're charging me heavily for that particular ticket or for a particular issue. So I use the term called as ticket. So normally any user raising an issue on the SAP system is called tickets. Okay, you can use it by any name. High priority ticket or medium priority ticket or issue, low priority ticket, whatever. Okay, now how is this timing happening? Different projects may use different support or ticketing tools. They are called as ticketing tools. So whatever ticketing tools any company is using, they will be having this feature. That is, there is an inbuilt clock which measures the time also. Clear? So how is 4 to 5 hours measured? How is 2 to 3 days measured? How is they're all taken care of by the ticketing tool. Okay, so let me not talk about the ticketing tools which I have worked on. Okay, but probably we have discussed so many new terminologies in SAP today, though they are very general, but they form a very good information as far as the this whole learning is designed. The power user training is designed. I think this is a very, very wonderful topic to be discussed. Of course, this you will definitely not find it in your course content, but this I discussed at this very moment because I felt that I should be making the session more and more interesting by giving you very good information about how SAP and what apart from what we are going to learn happens in SAP. So slowly and steadily, we'll be looking at the live SAP systems. OK, so even before that, I come there, I would want to I would want to finish certain topics which was of interest, which will be. Did you find this interesting? Was the topic interesting? The way the project goes about in SAP? I definitely feel it is very interesting. So that is why I happen to share this information with you. OK, this is, but I don't know if you can find this in your study content. I feel 100% it's no. OK, but this is as a additional information which you can definitely appreciate. OK. So any questions?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Pun, go ahead.
Can you explain legacy system in SAP once again?
Okay. See, legacy system, it is not in SAP. It is apart from SAP. Your legacy system is nothing but your non-SAP system, which you were using earlier prior to the SAP system. Suppose I was using a software package, say something ABCD. OK, so now from ABCD, I'm shifting over to SAP. That is your ABCD system is a legacy system. Legacy, the earlier used system, the earlier non-SAP system is referred to as the legacy system in SAP or legacy system in your SAP language. That is the difference.
Okay, sir.
That is the meaning.
One of the student is saying, sir, could you explain cutover activity once again?
Yeah. So now what happens? So the implementation will definitely, now let me assume a scenario. Where is the cutover activities? Here. OK. Now, when does the Indian business start its financial year? This is one financial year. Do you agree with me? Now, if I want to start using SAP from this year onwards, what would you do? Do I assume a scenario that my new implementation, my new SAP implementation should happen on the 1st of every year? Or on the 1st of April for every Indian project? It may not happen. So I have the date. On the 31st of August, I'm delivering the SAP system to X Limited. But the financial year is 1/4/2020. OK, let me put it as 24. This is your financial year, correct? So now if you consider that on the 31st, so what is happening to the data? All this data. So from 1st of April 2024 up to the 30th of August 2024, what would you do with the data? Shouldn't the data and the transactional or master data, shouldn't it move to the SAP system? This activity of movement of data of the earlier non-SAP data to the SAP system is called as, from the legacy system to the SAP system is called as the cut over activities. So X Limited is going to start using SAP only by 1st of September. So till the 31st of August, there will be data, non-SAP data. So how do I convert it into SAP? That is your cutover activity. I hope I was clear, Kunal.
Yes, sir.
Don't worry if there's some things are unclear. I'm going to take this topic once again. I'm going to handle this topic once again, but maybe after I finish some major things in SAP, because we need to start working on the SAP system also, trying to understand the finance side of SAP. Lot many things to be done. OK, so let us try to get into that from probably say tomorrow afternoon, after we spend tomorrow morning with a recap and probably a little bit of SAP also. OK. Yes, Puna, you can go ahead with the questions.
Yes, sir. The Sunil Singh, can you explain once again end user training?
OK. Now, once SAP has got implemented in X Limited. All right. So 31st of August, you are supposed to deliver the SAP product to X Limited. From 1st of September, all the users in X Limited must start working on the SAP system. They were earlier working on the legacy system. Now from 1st of September, they are supposed to start working on the SAP system. Can you expect them to directly start working on the SAP system even without knowing what SAP is all about? How to start working? Even without knowing, even without having seen the SAP system, do you expect them to immediately start working? No, you will have to, X Limited has to plan for their employees training on the SAP system also, which is included in the project cycle. And this typical training happens in this particular fourth phase. Lots and lots of activities take place in the final preparation phase, where we consultants, we prepare n number of documents, end user manual, end user training documents, you have test documents. OK, we prepare n number of documents, especially during this phase. So training document, we talk to each and every user of the particular department and have a training for them also. Suppose I'm responsible, I'm a consultant, and I'm responsible for the accounts payable side of SAP. OK, so my responsibility at the end of the implementation phase, I have to train the people of the accounts payable department of X Limited to know how they should start working on the SAP system. Suppose there are 10 people working in the accounts payable department. OK, so I need to tell them how you need to raise the invoice in SAP from the accounts payable. How do you need to make a payment to the vendor? What are the reports pertaining to accounts payable? So all these things I will be teaching the end user how to carry out these particular transactions, which he is supposed to do, or which he was rather doing earlier in the non-SAP system. Also, he was carrying out all these rules, and in the SAP system also, he need to carry out the same transaction. So today, being 31st of August 2024, if he is entering the purchase invoice in a non-SAP system, tomorrow, the 1st of September, he needs to enter the invoice in the SAP system. So how is he going to do it? So he has to know how to navigate, how to move around in the SAP system to go to his particular option and enter the invoice. Clear? So we consultants, we train the end users or the employees of X Limited so that they are comfortable using the SAP system as far as their routine work is concerned. Day-to-day functioning should be smooth. Yes, Kunal, I think I have been clear on that.
Yes, sir.
Don't worry with a lot of questions you may come up with at a later point in time also. As I have been telling, I'll be taking over this topic once again. All right. Yes, Kunal, we can go to the
So,
other. Yeah,
student is saying generally how much time period will it take for a consultant to complete the SAP project in a real life scenario?
as I said, see, I have worked on projects which have taken 10, 11 months for implementation. And I have worked on projects which have even taken 3 years for implementation.
Oh, just 2 months.
Yeah, such is the complexity. Public sectors, it will eat away your head. You cannot even understand the requirements. Please take it from me. I am not trying to talk the evil side of SAP, but the understanding and the mapping of the solutions in SAP, you should be aware. There are very complex and very, very complicated implementations, which may take some years. And still they'll be facing issues. Let me be very clear on that.
Yes, sir. Sir, can you explain the cycle of a SAP project in in a short time?
Sure. So your SAP life cycle is nothing similar, is nothing but very, very similar to your other system development life cycle. You would have heard about something called as SDLC, system development life cycle. So similarly, this is your series of steps which takes to complete an SAP project. So how does it start and how does it end? So the first and the foremost is your initial preparation phase. This is, see, even before I get into the steps, when you talk about the life cycle of an SAP project, it is called as a ASAP methodology. A stands for accelerated. As simple as that, accelerated SAP methodology. And when Mr. Balaji talks about the HANA methodology, he'll be talking about another name. Okay. So initial preparation phase. It is your first step in your SAP project life cycle. What happens here? Both the companies, they sit and discuss as to what is a project, what are the modules, why SAP is required, what will his SAP help you with? Okay, and what is the time required for me to implement all the solutions in SAP? And the cost also. Cost involving the project. The second step, BBP, business blueprint. What is this business blueprint? It is nothing but you are writing down all the steps which have occurred in the, you write down all the points discussed in this particular first phase. In the initial preparation phase, you document that in a book or in a Bible, project Bible called as business blueprint. It is a huge voluminous book. Okay. It is a huge voluminous book running into hundreds of pages. It doesn't get completed in 1 or 2 pages or even 100 pages. It runs into hundreds and hundreds of pages. Why such a huge volume? Here, what happens in the business blueprint phase is all the points which you have discussed in the first phase will be documented and will be signed. Each page of your business blueprint will be signed by both the companies. Yes, it will be signed each and every page. And why do you think this happens? It is to clarify the requirements and the deliverables from both the ends. Deliverables from the consulting company and the requirements from X Limited. Have the requirements by X Limited clearly being understood by IBM? Is IBM clear on the point whether X Limited is clear upon the solutions what is advised by IBM? Are both the parties clear about what should be expected by SAP after SAP gets implemented? All right, because tomorrow X Limited should not come back and say, oh, I expected so many things from SAP and nothing has been done. All right, we should not blame the implementing company saying that it has not been done to the expectations. So that is why each and every page of this business blueprint document is signed by both the parties. What does this contain? The whole project. The whole SAP project is in black and white as far as the business blueprint document is concerned. Clear? Now, realization. What happens in the third phase of your implementation? This is where your actual implementation starts. Because, see, in these two steps, we never spoke about the SAP system. In your first step and your second step, we never even spoke about the SAP system. But in the realization phase, all your activities, they start on the SAP system. Whatever is the requirement of X Limited should be converted into SAP or will be converted into SAP. But there will definitely be time schedules within which each and every consultant will have to meet. Okay, within certain time, you need to the consultant needs to deliver some things. So within the next period of 5 days, I need to deliver something. The next week, my deliverable is something else. So like this, my activities have to be done on time and I need to deliver whatever is expected out of me. All right, in the realization. So all the requirements of X Limited will be converted into SAP by the consultants of IBM. All right. Now, what happens in the fourth step of your SAP implementation? Final preparation phase. Here, X Limited was working on a non-SAP system earlier. The greatest challenge is movement of the data, which is called as a cutover activities. So movement of what kind of data? Movement of the non-SAP data or the legacy data to the SAP system. This is the major activity of a consultant. And this is the most critical of the roles what I have done as a consultant. Very, very challenging, and time restrictions are very, 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 very tight. Clear? The time given to us consultants is very less, within which we need to move all the data into the SAP system, the master data as well as the transactional data. So I have already exemplified as to what could be a master data or what could qualify as a transaction data. Yeah. Now go live. That is the deadline. That is the date on which the consulting company has to deliver a workable SAP product to X Limited. Yeah. So that is the SAP implementation life cycle in short. So it consists of 5 steps. But once again, let me tell you, you may or may not see if you pick up any kind of a documentation on the SAP implementation, ASAP methodology, you may find different English. Maybe initial preparation could be some requirement, whatever. But the ultimate steps, whatever I have told you, they are the things which happen in that specific phase of the project. Okay. Now go live. This is the date which is finalized by the top managements of both the companies for an errorless, workable SAP system to be delivered to X limit. All right. So what happens in the go live phase? Both the management, the high level management or the top level management, there will be in this particular function. It is actually a party kind of an atmosphere because X Limited will be moving on to the SAP system, and IBM or maybe say the consulting company will be proud to have delivered another SAP implementing project into its books. So that is how it will be a party kind of an atmosphere. So where there will be a transaction which is checked to just to ensure that the SAP operations are smooth enough. All right, this is going to be a very simple, maybe say, I don't know, maybe say journal voucher entry or whatever it is, so that there will be no errors and SAP is delivered without any errors. Okay. And we also came about a concept called as support. What is support? After you have successfully implemented SAP in X Limited, it is not to be assumed that these people, they have already become experts. Which people? The users in X Limited, they're all experts in using the SAP system. No, that is a wrong assumption. You are supposed to train them. Okay, the consulting team has to carry out their end user training also. They generate manuals so that even in their absence, even if a consultant is not there to help the user, they can go through the training manual and they can learn how to operate the system. Okay, and going a little further, we came down to the supporting which is an offshoot of the consulting team in most cases, but need not be. I was also involved in a project where the consulting team was different from the support. Okay, in fact, we were consultants from different companies also. The SAP was implemented by one company and it was supported by 3 other companies, different companies. All right, that was also a scenario which I have worked on. Now, when it came down to the support, the language which I used was high priority, medium priority issues, and low priority tickets. Of course, the SAP system issues raised by the users is also alternatively called tickets. All right, now, so we also discussed the time given for the consultant to resolve the issues based on whether it is a high priority issue or a medium priority issue or a low priority issue. All right, this is as far as your SAP implementation project steps. They don't worry, as I've repeated, this will also be taken up a little later. Maybe say from tomorrow onwards, I'll be talking about the core SAP. Okay, and more about from the FI side. Let us get into that. And the project, this topic will be discussed. Of course, this is not a form of your, this does not form a part of your course content. But anyway, I just thought probably it could be more helpful for you so that it interests you to learn more and more about SAP. Okay, so this is about, in brief, about the SAP life cycle, typically called as your ASAP methodology. Okay, so here A stands for your accelerated SAP. Your A stands for your A and SAP. This is your ASAP methodology. Clear? Yes, Kuna, any other questions for me? Let me take up a few questions from the Q&A section. Let me see if I can just pick up a few
Most of the question is said similar, like legacy system and everything, blueprint and all, which we have already like cleared out all the doubts.
Yeah. Okay, right. So no other questions, Kunal?
No, sir. No, sir. Most of the same question has been asked.
Okay, they are repeating. Okay, not a problem. So now, should I start over with a new topic? Because we have 10 more minutes.
Yes, sir.
So tomorrow, what I'll do is, just a minute, my screen will be blank for some time. Just bear with it. I will just take stock of what should be the flow of our training. Okay. Okay. So tomorrow, what we'll try to understand from tomorrow is we will get into the how SAP, what are the different screens in SAP, and again, it will be very interesting. Don't worry, this topic, as I've been telling, this topic will be repeated about this projects, the life cycle of SAP projects. Tomorrow we'll be looking at this. Okay, I'll be telling you what exactly, how do you navigate, what is the meaning of navigation. All right, tomorrow we'll be getting into that, and what are the different screens which you will come across in SAP. Okay, so we'll be discussing this, and we will also be looking at the study content. Okay, we'll be looking at one or two topics there. So this is the plan for tomorrow. Let me see if I can think about something which I can add for tomorrow. Definitely I'll be doing it. And anything else which I wanted to tell you. So what you can look forward to is today is Tuesday. So tomorrow we will definitely start looking at the SAP system, how SAP looks like. And I said, you cannot assume that all the operations, like say the vendor invoice, the vendor payment, the customer invoice, the customer receipt, the journal voucher, the cash book, not everything will not happen in one screen or in one option. You will have to definitely go to a specific place in SAP to carry out these specific activities. Okay, so we will look at what exactly I meant by using this particular statement. You need to get into different place. I spoke about that, right? I will tell you what practically we'll have to do about it. Okay, just give me 2 minutes. I will just check right now if I can show you something. Just hold on.
Sir, more on is now for tomorrow. So can we wind up the session for today?
Sure, Kunal, we can do that. That should not be a problem.
Okay, sir.
We can wind up.
Hello, students. For today's session, we are winding up the session. We will tomorrow meet you at 11. Stay tuned.
Sure, Kunal. Thank you so much. Thank you all.